Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to day two, pick number two. Yeah, day two of 31 can't miss albums that the world totally missed out on, right? So these are albums that, for some reason, they could be by notable bands, very notable bands, or obscure bands that are excellent representations of what they do so well. Should have appealed to the masses, or at least to big fans of the style of music that these bands do. But for whatever reason, nobody bought these albums. Record labels didn't push them. They didn't chart. They didn't sell. No singles. Nobody talks about them, but they should. Especially if you like these bands, or maybe if you like certain styles of music and you never heard some of these bands, well, maybe you should investigate these. So remember, these aren't the big sellers. These aren't the albums packed with hits and all that sort of stuff, but they're albums that should have been, had singles, should have sold lots, should be remembered fondly by fans. And maybe some fans have, over the years, have grown fond of these, but at the time, nobody really was. So today for day number two, this is the seventh studio album by this American band. It was released June 15th, 1999. Recorded at 710 Studio and Total Access Recordings in Redondo Beach, North Hollywood, California. Produced by the band for CMC International here in the States, SPV Steamhammer in Europe, and Mercury Records in Japan. I'm talking about Erase the Slate by Dokken. Yes, indeed. A band, pretty big band in the 80s. Come the 90s, well, maybe not so much. Right? Maybe because they started taking a little bit longer to do albums. Maybe because George Lynch, their guitar player, left the band. Maybe because they decided they wanted to do some grungy stuff that didn't really fit. Lots of reasons, right? You know, this kind of style of 80s, metal, what is deemed as the glam metal or hair metal. I kind of always saw Dokken as something a little bit differently. Their music to me never really kind of fit in there. But, they were from California. They were around the same time as Rat and Motley Crue and Poison and all those other bands. But I always thought that they were a little bit different. No better or worse, right? Just I always preferred them a little bit more. But, in the 90s, they really struggled to figure out where the hell they wanted to be. And, George left the band, went and did Lynch Mob, then came back. They did some stuff together. Then he left again. And, by this point in time, 1999, band not really selling much of anything. People kind of, other than the hardcore fans, most people had moved on to other things. But Don, founding member Don Dokken, on lead and backing vocals, decided to kind of rejig the band slightly. Right, he still had on board Mick Brown on drums, sings on one track as well, and Jeff Pilson plays bass guitar, little acoustic guitar, a little piano, mellotron, keyboards, backing vocals. They brought on board on lead and rhythm guitars a guy named Reb Beach, who of course played in Winger. And right around this time, Winger really weren't doing much of anything, and this is before he joined up with David Coverdale and Whitesnake. And they produced and put out this album called Erase the Slate that really nobody bought, nobody discussed. But man, it's a really, really good one. It's a really good one. And to me, it takes you right back to those classic Dokken albums in the 80s, specifically like Tooth and Nail and the Back for the Attack album. Not so much Under Lock and Key. Under Lock and Key is very big and vibrant and hooky and all that sort of stuff. And this is more of the kind of moodier, darker, heavier Dokken. But still there's plenty of catchy hooks on here and very, very memorable songs. And amongst the songs, and there's a lot of them on this album. There's like 11, 12 songs. But title track Erase the Slate is really good. Change the World is a good rocker. Maddest Hatter is terrific. I think Maddest Hatter could have come off of Tooth and Nail, and people would be like, oh yeah, fits right in. So good. Great riffs and great soloing from Reb Beach. He's a terrific guitar player. I'm a big fan. But I think Don sounds really good on this album. And the songwriting's really good. And all four guys co-wrote this entire album, which I think is key, right? It feels like a true band album. Drown, Shattered is really good. They do a cover of Harry Nilsson's One. It's a pretty good cover. I don't really know if it's needed here, but it's pretty good. Then you got Who Believes, Voice of the Soul is great. Then you got this really interesting kind of almost like Van Halen style rocker that Mick Brown sings, which is Crazy Mary Goes Round. That's loads of fun. Haunted Lullaby, got a couple of these tunes on here. Start off like a little acoustic guitar, then they get a little heavier. And then In Your Honor is totally in that. The Haunted Lullaby and In Your Honor both have really cool acoustic parts, but lots of depth, lots of dynamics. Really, really good stuff. Again, riffs everywhere, solos everywhere, but more important is like an atmosphere. There's a moodiness to these tracks that are really, really good. And a good chunk of them have very catchy choruses, which you'd expect from Dokken. And I really like it a lot. I think this, this comes after an album called Shadow Life, which is another kind of ignored album from them. And then, all of a sudden you got the best ofs coming around, and, Don did his solo thing early in this decade, which was pretty good as well. But to me, and they've released a bunch of other things since, getting back together with George, then George leaves. There's all this stop-start stuff, and then Don started to lose his voice. And, I really haven't been following the career of Dokken over the last bunch of years. It's just like, to me, this was the last really great album from them. And I would argue after you get past those classics from the 80s, this is right up there with them and probably comes right after them. Like if I were to right now redo my Dokken list, you would have those, like those albums and then this one. I think this is really, really good. And if it didn't come out in 1999, because, in 1999... yeah, we're getting new metal. We got rap and hip hop and all the other stuff and alternative music and whatnot. But I think if this album comes out in like 1989, maybe even 1990, could have done really big business. Should have done really big business. Like I said, there's a couple of tracks on here that instantly could have been good rockin' singles. And there's just great deep cuts on here. Very strong album. Like I said, there they are right there. And it's just a shame that that Reb didn't really stick around here so they could do more, because I think they really gelled from a songwriting perspective. And it just sounds like classic Dokken, with a different guitar player, right? But the guitar player also has a style that lends itself to the style of music that this band does. So I think it's a really, really good one. And the funny thing is, in 99, I didn't buy this. I didn't actually get into this album until many years later. I probably bought this probably when I did the Dokken ranking a number of years ago. That's probably when I got this, actually. And I was like, geez, where's this album been all my life, right? It's a really good one. So that's my pick for today. Erase the Slate from 1999 from Dokken. If you are a somewhat of a Dokken fan, but maybe just, never ventured outside the 80s for them, you owe it to yourself to check this one out. If you're new to the music of Dokken, this is a good place to start as any. You probably want Tooth and Nail or Under Lock and Key or, the first album or Back for the Attack, right? That's probably the best place to start. But right after those, this is dynamite stuff. So that's my pick for today. List your pick down in the comments below, and we'll see you tomorrow for another one. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page, our Cameo page, and the Sea of Tranquility membership options. Thank you in advance for all your support, guys. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll see you soon with more stuff. I am Pete Pardo. Take care. We got all sorts of things happening today. We got the Professor's Picks. We got 4 Fusion Friday. Tomorrow we got the UK Connection. Sunday, ranking the albums. Two of them for you. We got Coney Hatch and Icons. That's all coming on Sunday. And then Hudson Valley Squares. Combat Records is our topic for Monday night. We'll see you then. I'm Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.